welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something I don't often do. I'm actually going to be comparing the one of my decks, or newer to me decks rather, to just the straight up Smith Waite. I received this a couple of weeks ago from a very lovely person. We did a trade. They sent me the deck and I sent them a pouch, and it's a deck that's been on my wish list for a very long time, the Tower of the Sweet Twilight. It feels very much like a 90s teen me kind of deck, and I felt like it'd be a good inner teen deck to work with. And yeah, it's really interesting. I have looked through every card on a number of times. I have edged it. I have gone through and made piles of the cards that I do like, the cards that I don't like, the cards that I'm ambivalent about, and the cards that I love, which I do with almost every new deck that comes into my collection. But this is a deck that's been out for a very long time. I'm not actually sure when this was printed, when it was published. Slow Scarabeo. It should say on the book. So this is Christina Benetende. I think that's how you say it. And yeah, it feels very 90s teen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these decks out of their little packaging, their little boxes, and yeah, we're going to have a look through each card one by one. So if that interests you, grab a cuppa, stick around. If it doesn't, no worries, I'll see you maybe in another one. And yeah, I'll just come back with these unwrapped. So as is customary with sort of most mass-produced sort of decks that just come in tuck boxes, we just have the multiple language guidebook, and I am going to, or the little white book rather, I am going to be keeping it next to me should I wish to refer to it, because the reason I'm doing this is this deck does deviate from a lot of the traditional sort of Smith Waite imagery, and in that sense it puts me in mind of a lot of another Lo Scarabeo deck, which is the Fae Tarot, which I own and quite enjoy as well. I really love the backs. I really love the colours of this deck. This deck feels very autumnal / going into like early winter for me. So let's turn them over. I've put them all in order. I am aware from having like looked at this deck a bunch already. I've not actually done any sort of full-on readings with it. I've just sort of played with it. I am aware that the numbering for justice and strength are in the Marseille tradition, or even the Thoth tradition with this deck. So justice is at 8 and strength is at 11. And obviously with the Smith Waite, that's the other way around. So when we get to those cards, I will then pull them aside and then look at them when we get to the next one, if that makes sense. And I might actually have to scooch in the camera a bit so you can get a better look, because this artwork is a lot darker and a bit more detailed than some of these cards, and like I said, it does deviate sometimes from the classic imagery. I probably will also need to move the light so you can see the cards a bit better, so I'm just going to do that. I think that's the best I'm going to be able to get the lighting, I'm afraid. I apologise for it being kind of dog shit. We're having like really changeable weather outside, and it's just so hard to like get the lighting right. And I need to make sure that I'm standing to the side so I'm not casting my own blimmin' like this, my own shadow in the bloody thing. And I will probably hold the cards up a little bit as well if I need to. I always forget though, right, because I'm looking through a small phone screen, and then if this is actually on someone's laptop or computer screen or TV screen, which some people will watch on their smart TVs. I don't even own a smart TV. Then this is just wild to me. I'm like, I'm so behind with technology. Yeah, anyway, I'm getting distracting myself. That this will, hopefully this image will be big enough and clear enough for you to see, is my point. So Here we have the classic Smith Waite on the right, with our Fool heading towards the cliff's edge with the little doggy being like, "No, which way are you going?" With the white rose and the little knapsack, what have you. And here we don't actually have, we do have the Fool near the edge, but I feel like this little ledge coming out here is the sort of the precipice, and the Fool isn't actually near that edge. They are still quite close to the edge. They have puppet strings on, which is an interesting choice, and they have a drum. We've got the sun up on this side rather than this side. We don't have a dog. We do have like what looks like a dog, like an anthropomorphized dog toy, like a dog rag doll maybe, and instead we have this little black cat. We have what I think is meant to be like a knapsack wrapped around the twig maybe. I'm not 100% sure, or if it's meant to be some kind of stylized flower. God, this deck just feels, I know that this was created, hang on, let me just check, because I said I was going to check, 2009. So this artwork was made into, well, it's printed in 2009. It probably took a little while to create the artwork. I don't know if it's, I don't want to say it's pencil, but I'm not 100% sure. And it feels very like 90s to me. It's giving me 90s vibe. This is the kind of colours, the kind of art style that like I saw quite a bit in the 90s. So this is why I think I think of it as like a good teen, in a teen deck, because that's when I was a teenager. It was in the 1990s. So yeah, like interesting choice, right? I'm not quite sure what the puppet string thing is referring to, because usually I would think of the Fool as being quite sort of liberated character. I forgot to say I edged mine in a sort of a soft foamy green, because who was it? Riffle and Time had done their one in the same colour, although a trimmed version. I've left the titles on for now because I don't know this deck well enough, and I didn't want to be faffed with writing the symbols on all the time when I trim decks. Anyway, next card, we'll go on to the Magician. This is probably going to be a long video, strap in. This one feels a bit more classic. We don't have like the flowers, we don't have the as above so below, or any sort of real nod to the lemniscate, like the sort of occult associations that have been added. You know, like this was sort of referring to the original, I believe, shape of the hat of the magician on the like the Marseille decks, for example, and then it sort of got read by certain occultists, I believe, I may be misremembering, as being nodding to a lemniscate, but they were just sort of reading into whatever they were seeing, which is fine. Occultists sort of layered over a lot of things onto the tarot that never really was there to begin with. But that's what we do. We add and we build upon a system. I do love that we've got this little cat that's playing around with the pentacle. They're just holding it and looking at it. I love that the cat is like green with red stripes. I mean, cool cat. Literally. I feel like there's the wand and the sword here and just the cup. He's got a crystal ball. And he also has like a moon under his eye and a single pearl earring, which is very like the Tudor era. They was into that kind of thing with the pearly earrings. The High Priestess, really strange. Again, we don't have a scroll. I think she's standing. I'm not 100% sure. She doesn't look like she's seated, but this bit here at the back and here looks like it could be the back of a chair and like the arm, and the cat is sitting on the arm of the chair. The cat has weird like white zombie eyes, and so do the mice, and she's holding one of the mice. They look terrified. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Again, I'm not sure what these like this weird stick, is it meant to be one of the pillars? I don't know. It's really, it doesn't, I mean, other than her having like the moon on her head, it's not screaming High Priestess to me, if I'm honest. I don't really understand the reference for the mice. Should we have a look? Let's have a first little look into the guidebook. I mean, it's obviously like minimal bit of information because it is just one of these little white books, but we'll see. So the High Priestess is familiar with the life that goes unseen. Beneath the floors and in the walls, what others may demean, she values and protects. Ah, see, this is one of those little white books that is actually really valuable because it's referencing the artwork. It drives me bananas when you have work in a tarot, art and work in a tarot that deviates from, you know, for example, the classic Smith Waite imagery that we are also familiar, well, a lot of us are familiar with. I'm assuming, we'll never assume anything, right? You know what they're saying. And then they don't say anything about why that decision was made. It drives me like cuckoo banana pants. Like, why bother? And they're like, oh, we didn't like, it's like for being intuitive. Like, fuck intuitive. I want to know what the artist was getting at. I want to know. But this just like, that makes sense now because she's protecting them from this like scary zombie-eyed cat. The unseen, the unknown, the inner, the under the floorboards. I like that. It gives it slightly like grounds the High Priestess a bit, right? Yep. Next one, the Empress. We've got her in water and the little fishies. There's no like, because obviously we have the crown of stars. We don't have that here. She's holding the earth, so she's got like, I guess would be like the scepter and the orb, which again I don't know. The Emperor has a scepter. Maybe this is meant to be because she's, I don't know. Maybe this sits on top of that to create that. The fish though, that's interesting. There's not that usual nod to fecundity and fertility and nurturing and motherhood, which I find interesting. The Empress holds the world even while she is part of the world. She is life and the giver of life. So it's like the waters of life, I guess. She is present in all things that she has created. Oh, again, so that's quite interesting. So she is almost like swimming in the waters of life. This is... yeah, I can see this has been actually quite thought about quite deeply. It's just not as obvious to me without the descriptions from the artist. So an example of a deck that is actually can be the choices that have been made artistically that I feel are quite intuitive and sort of make sense in a Smith Waite context, despite them being very different. It's like the Zombie Tarot, because it's very well thought out and really interesting choices that make sense to me. Maybe it's just because I've had that deck for over a decade, I don't know. But we have like almost like two sides of the Emperor. The Emperor is very like, some people have a very sort of negative view of the Emperor, but there's also a positive side because all cards come from like this neutral space, and the flavor, the way you read it, comes from the context, right, that you're reading it within. Little meerkat is very cute. He's quite sort of intense looking. It's almost like they're two different people. It's like this alien type. I don't know what this little top hat character is in the background. It's just an eyeball. They have an eyeball for a head. Interesting. I feel like this is one of those decks that needs a dedicated tarot journal. Like it's a deep diver, you know, because there's so much going on here. The Hierophant is turned away almost to the side, but almost to the side and back here rather than completely face forward. We have one character down here looking up, but he's got a cat and a bird. There's a bird's nest down here and fish flying through the sky. I particularly like his very long moustache and eyebrows, and it looks like he's almost got like ribbons tied, little bows tied at the ends of his moustache. It's very extra. Really interesting choices again. I like his boots. Feels very different to the classic Hierophant. I'm trying to fight the urge to like read every single description in the little white book. Ugh, this is very interesting. We have the Lovers. It's quite interesting that they're like floating on a little island, but it almost feels like the inverse of that. Look, can you see the grass and this? It's like the other way around. Maybe if you flipped this is what's underneath, you know. And they're facing each other more directly and kissing. Seeing these like little moon-shaped things. There was one of those in the Fool as well. Roses and lilies. I feel like the flowers are significant. The Chariot, again, we've got the Chariot coming away rather than this static face forward. There's a lot more sort of movement here again. We've got a sun and a moon. This feels very Burton-esque, doesn't it? The long legs, very carnival-esque. We do have the two different coloured horses, but they're moving along. We've got these long shadows. It's interesting because we've got an extra characters. We've got the person in the chariot and then this person here striding, long strides alongside them. And they're holding this weird, like, there's like a Dali-esque vibe to some of these cards, because this is making me think of, like, you know, melting clocks. And then there's this snake on it, but then the snake is coming off and wrapping around. It's so strange. There's a lot to think about in these cards. So here we go. This is where we've got the strength and the justice. I'm just going to put them down here. Actually, I'm just going to put them out of the way, and I'm going to show them when we get to the other ones. Does that make sense? Maybe not. The Hermit. He's got a book instead of a lantern. And the quills. Little bird friends. So a slightly different spin on the Hermit. And again, he's got like this long twist of beard that comes out and then goes into the water. The surreal elements. We have the Wheel of Fortune. This one's quite cute because you've got, like, it feels that we've got like a broken heart, a star, a cloud with a rainbow. I think that's a sun. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe a bird, lightning. Again, I'm not quite sure what they all are, but it's sort of attached to a tree. It doesn't have a handle though, so how does it spin? I guess maybe they're balancing on it and they're walking on it and it's making it spin. I don't know. We don't have like the little characters in the corners or anyone actually riding the wheel like we do here. Interesting. Strength. So okay, so here we go. Let's first look at strength. Oh, I'm very like little Yoda character here. This is before Grogu was a thing. What's interesting is we've got this character here and she's got a mask but she's taken it off, and this lion looks quite like it's being, like, it's roaring at her, but it doesn't feel like it's being super aggressive. There's almost a slight sleepiness to its face. It doesn't look like it's sort of growling or roaring at her, but sort of half-heartedly. And I like this unmasking element. I find that quite interesting. There's like a little building in the background. Like a little, yeah, I don't know, weird. And I'm not entirely sure what the Yoda thing is. I'm going to have to read because I don't know if there'll be a reference to that because copyright, right? Strength. Strength exists in a tender caress given in open vulnerability. Strength looks with love into the eyes of what she fears, knowing that is the way to find her true self. Ooh, interesting. No reference to the Yoda, but okay. No mind. Let's have a look at Justice now. This is a really weird one. We've got this like musical note that looks like it's almost made out of herself. Justice herself. She's creating, she makes up the actual scales, and there's like music coming out. I don't know. We've got a sword, so we've got a sword and scales, and then we've got this snake wrapping around it. You know, snakes can represent lies depending on which way you're coming at it from, or truth, right? Depending on what sort of way you're coming at it, I guess. I don't see snakes as manipulative or devious. I really like snakes. I used to have a pet snake, and I see them as truth tellers. And so for me, maybe I think that's why the snake is here. But yeah, again, there's more movement going on here, right? It looks like these are swinging almost, and we've got this music coming up. She's got her eyes closed, whereas Justice here has her eyes open. Yeah, interesting take. She's not holding the sword. It's almost like she doesn't need to. We go on to the hanged one, or the hanged man. So we have a hanged person here in the background, and they have this like book here for identifying butterflies and a butterfly net. And then this other character here in the front, in the foreground, their arms are like tied to their hands, and then their upper arm here and their hand here is tied. It's very strange. At first I was like, are they like bungee jumping? But you wouldn't have like multiple ropes on you. You'd have just the one, right? Otherwise it's going to pull you apart. But I like that we've got the little bird up there as well. That's cute. Very different having the two. Like, it sort of threw me off because there's the one at the front is like upright and there's two people in it. Interesting. Okay, the death card. I really love this. This is so like melodramatic, like 90s teen to me. This whole outfit feels so 90s. She's got like the dress with the like probably thrift store top hat, boots with the dress. I mean, I could have walked out of the 90s at the age of 15 wearing this exact outfit. I love that Death is holding her. He's walking, and if you look at his shadow, it's a scythe. Ugh, I just love it. I keep thinking these are like moons, because here we have the sun and then like the moon again. Very weird. And again, we've got a snake coming out of the skull. And I love that you've got like this dry, cracked, arid land. Really interesting take. Almost sort of poetically beautiful, and a little less frightening in a way than some other depictions of death that I've seen. Temperance, it feels more, I guess, like a sort of a classic Temperance. We've got an angel-like figure. They've got their wings. They are blending the two vessels, and this one just happens to be sort of rainbowy, which I'm super into. They've got like a circlet. This one has like a disc. This one has a star. Background's different, but it still looks like there's sun coming up through, starting to peak up, as opposed to here. Again, this more sort of deserty landscape that this, again, which gives me like Dali-esque vibes, feels to be setting. But I do like we've got like the red sky here, and then this very green sky here. Meow. The devil. This devil is like, hello. I just really like that they've got like one hoofed leg and one sort of like human leg, and then they've got different horns, like one's straight and one's swirly. He's got one half of a jacket. Like this one side feels more like human and sort of anthropomorphic, and then this side is the more sort of animalistic wild side. Yeah, I'm so sure that these are moons at this point. And he's got like these lovely demony devilly wings, got the little sharp points like you do on the Smith Waite. No supplicants in this one though. No little sort of chained up doodads people in here. So I wonder why they chose not to include them. He looks quite sort of, he's just chilling. I'd almost imagine him like kicking his legs with glee, like, you know, just swinging his legs while he's sitting up there with his little fork. The tower. Interesting here, because with the the classic tower, we're either looking like directly at it, and I have seen some towers where it almost looks like it's looking up slightly at the tower. This one we're looking down. We've got a different perspective. These people are actually at safety. We don't see anyone falling out here. It's almost like they've had forewarning of what's going to happen, and they've like escaped before shit hit the fan. I love that it's like a teddy bear, and like not an actual bear, but literally looks like a teddy bear, and then this character has like rabbit like ears on. This is like a lightning strike, and then you've got the sun coming up. So we don't really have that here. We've got this light at the end of the tunnel coming up here, which has a slightly more feels like it has a slightly more positive read to it than the sort of Smith Waite depiction of this card. The Star. Weird little star plant person sprinkling stardust rather than actual water or jugs of anything. There is this sort of threshold here that we see with the water and the land, but because they are a plant, we don't have that 1 foot in and 1 foot off the water. And they've got like the moon on a string. I'm just assuming that this is a moon. It's kind of cute. Yeah, very 90s vibes. The Moon. So we don't have any dogs or wolves or crawfish. We don't have any actual towers or any water even, which is unusual for a moon card, I have to say, because we think of those subconscious waters, right? In a moon card, that's sort of the symbolism of the crawfish coming out of the subconscious waters. And there's no path. It's just sort of waves of sand dunes, maybe. Instead of the towers, we have these 2 trees, and I almost feel like the birds instead of the yachts coming down. And this character here is looking up at the moon and has these, like, I don't know, these little spheres. Should we have a look at the book again? See what the book says. The moon, benign really, minds its own business in the night sky. It cannot help that it must merely reflect. The moon can give you nothing more or less than yourself, with a few shadows thrown in just to keep things interesting. Oh, that is interesting. Although the only shadow that we really see is this actual person's shadow here, and then like just this tree. So I do like that, the little write-up. It's a short little bit that you get for each card, but it feels like it sort of gets enough information in there just as a jumping off point. The Sun, no baby on a horse, just lots of weird amalgamated faces within the sun, which is kind of scary. It makes me think of, what is it, in which Superman film is it, where they all get sent off in that weird disc across the sky. It looks like they're being sent off, especially with this character's face. It looks like they've almost been flattened out into the sun. They don't look too happy, and they look a bit worried as well. Weird. We do have like what appears to be like a rocking horse. It doesn't look like, or maybe it's a horse on a boat. I can't tell what's going on there. And lots of daisies, whereas here we have sunflowers. Strange depiction of the sun, although I think I'd still take it over the naked baby on the horse, honestly. Judgment. Okay, I actually really love this Judgment card. I love that we've got this sort of downward, like properly, like getting really close, going, oh! And it's the tombstones, but you don't actually have any people yet. They haven't come up yet. And I love that we've got like these thorny roses like winding around the headstones and the statues. And like I love how like cash the Judgment card is. They're like, I'll just go like casual. And they've got like, rather than angel wings, they almost look like sort of iridescent insect wings. And they've got the butterflies to sort of mirror that or echo that. They're all holding a little strand of hair. Interesting. The World, again, another weird. We've got a lot of these sort of characters that are sort of like just attached by just like a single thread or pole or branch or something. We don't have the 4 characters in the corner. We don't have this sort of wreath around. It is literally the actual world, and then it's almost like this, you see it's crying and there's collecting the tears here in this vessel, this bowl. Very strange. The earth is crying. And now we go on to the wands. I've done it in the order that of my favourite suit. So it's going to go wands, pentacles, cups and swords. So I think we're all very familiar with this Wands card from the Smith Waite. And here, this is giving me real like James and the Giant Peach. We've got this huge apple growing, and I'm not sure if they're trying to shake it loose by like shaking on the branch, or if they're trying to climb down. I don't know, but this, what a sort of, and I have to admit, like if this didn't have the title written on it, I would have thought this was an Ace of Pentacles, because of that sort of abundance of this giant apple. I do like that we've got this like weird skull-like thing on a stick. Not quite sure what that is, but I like it. The Two of Wands does away with this sort of very sort of colonial scene here, and we've got this almost like an arrow pointing forwards. It almost looks like she's got glasses or even a superhero mask over her eyes. She's got the world on a string, and it says Death Valley. They're going into Death Valley. In fact, we've got someone else with the world on the string. We have a skeleton going into Death Valley. Here are the two wands. We have the wand here and the wand here, and it's almost going from like, can you see this paved road into the sandy Death Valley? I have actually been to Death Valley, so that's cool. Something I can relate to there. The Three of Wands. Again, we've got just 1, 2, 3. Blinking, you'll miss them, I think. I'm not quite sure. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters clambering over the landscape. I'm not entirely sure what is going on here. It doesn't feel... It feels so different to this. I don't... Like, you know, with this one, you can see that there's like heading out, and they're actually heading out themselves. Whereas this one's like, I've sent my bitches out to like do shit for me. This feels like I'm going and doing shit for myself. This, I don't, usually we see this as like the first rewards, the first results, the ships are coming in. Make of that what you will. But let's have a look at the wands here. Let's see. Cups, Pentacles, Wands. Three of Wands. All hope feeds the dawn, the promise of a fresh new day. As each challenge slows our chase of the sun, we can pause, reflect on how far we've come, and move on feeling renewed. Or not. Okay, that is a little odd. This, I guess we've got the sun rising up here. They're chasing the sun. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. It's probably the weirdest one so far, I think, for an interpretation. The Four of Wands. This feels very melancholy. It feels very emo. You know, she looks upset. He looks not. He looks like he's just not into her. It doesn't have the joyful. Just, this feels like it's, you know, a celebration, and this feels like commiserating. I don't know. Again, I don't know how I feel about that. And it's I mean, the ones are usually like my favorite suit. Those, and it's, I don't know. Again, though, with a narrative deck, it's just a snapshot of a possible meaning, and so this is the one that's chosen for this, and this is the one. I'm sure that there's something about the Four of Wands that can be read in this way too. This feels very Five of Wands. They're having a little sparring match. It's not very much to say about that one. Another like wands that you would usually feel is quite a positive feels quite negative. I'm wondering if they've switched the meanings from the swords and the wands, for the swords to be air and the wands to be, sorry, the wands to be air and the swords to be fire, and that's maybe what's happening. If that's the case, oof, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not usually a fan of the swapped elements, but this doesn't feel like victory to me. So weird. Here we have that defensive vibe, although she's got this big cat with her to keep her safe, so I feel like she's doing a little better than this guy here. The Eight of Wands. This feels more like Eight of Swordsy to me, because you've got this character in the middle and like surrounded. Strange. And here obviously we have the like that dynamism. Although we've got all these butterflies moving around, so maybe the butterflies are what are creating that movement. 9 of Wands. So see, they've got a sword. Here's one of those sticks with the skull on the end. They look a little more positive. This guy looks more weary. But I feel like them having the sword is like going to throw me off. The 10, we've got these like puppet characters again, all on strings, which for me, like for the 10 of Wands feels very like overloaded and burdened. This person is really struggling to carry all the wands, whereas this feels almost like they're not so much burdened as they're like being puppeted and held in place. I don't know. Weird. So let's go on to the court. So we have the knave instead of the page, playing a little guitar. Oh my god, I bet he's playing Wonderwall. We have the knight with a passenger on the back, and this is like a stuffed horse. Can you see the stitching on the horse? And again, we've got another puppet character. So we've got like 2 extra people in the card. And different, like, so we've got like a cat mask and this other mask here, and then like a hat. He's wearing a very big top hat. Strange interpretation. And this seems to be like an indoors rather than outdoors. A lot of these are out in the, like, you know, the desert, and then this feels like it's in a room. Maybe they're toys, you know, we've got the puppets, we've got the soft toys. The stitched together horse, I mean. Queen of Wands. This feels a little more Queen of Wandsy with the sunflowers, and we've got a mouse rather than a cat, which seems to be sort of a bit of a theme. That was what we saw in the High Priestess as well, the mice. I like that she's got the flower crown. She's holding her wand, much like the Queen of Wands. Her throne it looks very rickety, but very sort of natural as well. And then we have the king, who he looks a little menacing, I have to say. But he's got this sort of wild green hair and this what looks to be like maybe a holly wreath around his head. And then again, we've got more characters in dancing about, fannying about in the background. And these like sleeves almost look like wings. I don't get that sort of fiery, sort of salamandery kind of vibe from this. Now we're going to go on to the Pentacles. So here, because it does have a literal star, I can tell that this is the Pentacle, but seeing that apple also makes me think that could easily be an Ace of Pentacles. So we're getting this growth, this seed, it's sort of growing within her, or she's growing within it. There's this sort of something going on here. This process feels a bit more, actually feels a bit more like that seed germinating than this one. Although this, because it's not always just a seed or an idea, it represents many things. But I do quite like this one. This one is so strange. I'm not sure I can get my head around this one. It's giving like, I don't know. They're looking in the mirror. You've got a crow on top. You've got a crow over here. And the 2 pentacles are represented by, like, she's got one on her front and then one like hanging off her sleeve. But I don't understand where the like balance is coming from. Let's have another look in the book. All the rhymes. Pentacles 2. Are you looking at a picture of what you wish were true, or a mirror that reveals things as they are? What is that space called between what you are and what you are aiming for? See, it feels very different, you know, to the Smith Waite. I feel like this is kind of, it has some Smith Waite elements, but then it's also kind of doing its own thing. I do actually also think, because it's so thought-provoking and different, it is going to be such a good like inner team deck for sure. We have the 3 of Pentacles. We've got another what looks to be a mirror. I don't know, because these people look different, so I'm not sure if this is like a frame or a mirror. Not sure. And we've only got 2 people rather than 3, but we do have 3 pentacles at least. Don't know how I feel like that. The pips are throwing me off more than the majors were. The majors, the deviations, like the explanations seem to make more sense to me so far. We have the 4, right? So now this feels very 4. They've got this character and they're like, she's holding on to 2 of the pentacles. She's got a couple down here. I love her like little flying helmet and goggles though. Cute. Camera. Trying to see if there's any other creatures. Oh, there's like a little skeleton holding up the moon. I hadn't spotted that. See what I mean? There's so many like little details. Okay. The 5 of Pentacles, which would obviously be seen as sort of this like down and out kind of card. I'm not really sure what's going on with these two characters here. They look like they're on a road trip. They've got a VW camper like vehicle in the background. I'm not really quite sure. Has it broken down? And they're like, oh, we need someone to come and help us. They've like set up because they've got like their clothes drying. It's giving me a little bit Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, with the bus and the clothes and just sort of this little thing coming out the top. But again, not quite sure what's going on here. Does anyone have this deck and how does it read for you? I'd be interested to know, honestly, how and did you like trim it, or do you use it in an oracle, or did you reorder it? You know, like a lot of people have done with the Hush Tarot, for example. This, again, we go back and this is the 6 of Pentacles, and it feels, again, we've got this person that's like dropping all this like coin down onto these people that are like down here on their knees asking for help. So like it feels more like it's giving me whiplash, you know. Confusion. The 7 of Pentacles. We have like all these characters coming out of Jack in the Boxes almost, and I'm not quite sure where the idea of like taking a pause, seeing how far you've come so far, you're sort of, you know, building on something, nurturing something, that toiling and that hard work, taking a moment to appreciate your efforts, reassessing whether you need to sort of pivot, change up what you're doing. I just don't get that. They're all like got instruments, they're all like playing music, and maybe they're just having like a music break. I don't know. I'm sounding like I don't like this deck. I'm really enjoying the artwork. I'm just confused by it. You know, like when it comes to actually like being a readable deck. The 8 of Pentacles. I don't understand where we're getting this idea of like perfecting your craft, diligently working, patience, that kind of thing that we think of when we think of the 8 of Pentacles in the Smith Waite. I mean, I don't know what this shady like monkey or chimp or whatever it is in the background. What is going on? What is she doing? What is she looking at? Did she plant all these? I'm confused. I'm so confused. Catwoman. So this is an interesting interpretation because here we have this woman is sort of enjoying the fruits of her labor. There's this abundance, there's this luxury, there's this sort of earthly pleasures thing going on. They're taking the time. We've got all these gorgeous grapes, bundles of grapes growing. She's in the garden and everything's just... And then here we have like a cat woman nicking off with some coins. Like, what? This feels very like 7 of Swords-esque almost, like sneaking off with something. I'm confused. Let's have a look at... I apologise. Well, no, I'm not going to apologise. It's my video. If you don't like it, don't watch, right? I want to know what it says in the book for 9 of Pentacles. What an awesome feeling to be on top of the world. Mistress of your own destiny. Good job. You've done very well. The big question now, what next? So maybe she hasn't stolen these. Maybe these are the pentacles that she's earned through hard graft. And like, she just likes to wear cat mask. I mean, honestly, why not, you know? Maybe it just threw me because it made it look like she was a cat burglar. Cat burglar. Okay, 10 of Pentacles. We have this woman that's been like coming down the steps. Honestly, she looks like she's having a moment. She's grabbed all these little pentacles. I feel like they were floating in the air and she's like grabbed them all. There's this little rabbit guide being like, what is she up to now? Like, I feel like she's a little like, and she's having a moment. She's wandering around her house and like the people that live with her are a bit worried for her well-being. I don't know. She's enjoying herself, maybe. Knave of Pentacles. I don't like this card because it makes me think of a certain person depicting a certain character, and it gives me the squick. We've got the Knight of Pentacles, flying fish, platypus type duck thing. I feel like this is going to be faster than the horse, and like being above the water, making it a fish feels very like non-earthy. It doesn't feel very grounded. Like, I don't get that slow and steady wins the race type vibe from this one. There's like a little cat head there in the sky, naturally, as you do. The Queen of Pentacles, she's in her garden. She's got the castle in the background, which we don't have in the Smith Waite. And the moon question mark in the background, or is it like a giant crystal ball? Because can you see it sort of looks like, I don't know, it looks like it's in the sky, like in the distance, because you can see just the edge of this castle is just comes in front of it, but I'm not entirely sure. Although that looks a very uncomfortable position to be holding something in. I don't know, it's weird. We don't have any little bunnies either. The King, I'm finding it weird that we've got like extra characters in the court cards. Like, I like my court cards to have like the court in them. It's like when Lenormand cards put like people in non-people cards, and the only one that I can think of that is an exception to the rule for that is Auntie Kay's Lenormand, because the court cards characters are put into the cards, but the way that they're put into the card makes sense with the meaning. It's really clever. But like, you know what I mean, like sometimes there'll be like a letter card and it's got like a big person like front and center rather than the letter, so then you think it's like a person card. You know what I mean if you read Lenormand and you've seen a bunch of decks. But we've got like these little characters, these little bunny, weird freaky bunny characters with weird and wide mouths and floppy ears. She's got a strawberry in a cup. Maybe she's saving that for pudding. I don't know. Lots, again, with these like carnival masks. I don't know what's going on. Again, he's got like the long swirly moustache with a little bow on it. Or maybe it's like an insect tied to it and that's like how it flies, because the insect is holding up the end of the moustache. I don't know. It's a very odd interpretation. Onto the chalices or the cups. Okay, you know, I can tell that's the Ace of Cups. I don't know why there's a woman fanning about in the water, but you do you, boo. The Two of Cups. This does feel more Two of Cupsy. They're having a date, it looks like. They're having a good time. We've got some nods to the Smith Waite, which is great. Well, that rhymes. They're having a romantic time. She's sitting on a bed, so she's already getting, she's like, come on, let's get on. He's trying to wine and dine her and she's like, let's just get to the hot stuff. 3, we have this person sitting in like a swinging chair and they've got like little squirrel friends that are drinking alcohol. Don't give alcohol to squirrels. I feel like that is a very ill-advised thing to do. It doesn't have the she looks more contemplative. Like she's got the way that she's got her hand up into her hair and the way her eyes are like have like a 1,000-yard stare, almost like she's seeing a vision. She's holding that cup in a very weird way. It doesn't have the like rejoicing feeling. Interesting. But she does have these little friends here. Maybe she just calls them her friends and they're like, we don't know her. The Four of Cups, the sulky card, feels less sulky than the Smith Waite. I don't know. She's like fishing for cups. So here, this person is actively ignoring the gift that's being given them. This person is like actively trying to like take it. It's strange. We have the 5. Okay, again, this feels, yeah, I can see that. She's gone one extra and thrown herself down on the ground, although she took the time to like roll out something to lie on first because she didn't want to get her clothes dirty, maybe. I don't know. But she's having a full-on like dramatic moment here. Yes. Okay. The 6 of Chalices. I do like that it's a bear. Like, oh, cute. And it makes me think of that sort of nurturing side of the bear in Lenormand, and this sort of nostalgia and being cared for, because the bear can represent like a mother figure sometimes in the Lenormand. So this feels very like nostalgia and childhood and all that jazz. 7 of Cups. This 7 of Cups is very strange. We have this person looking into this pool and seeing this skeletal version of themselves looking back at them. Obviously here we have all these different choices, this sort of daydreamy choices which to choose situation. We're not really getting that. All of the cups are sort of in various, like some of them are empty, and then like these ones look like they might have some liquid in them. Should we see what it says about the 7 of Cups? Out of interest. When you dream, when you relax into your fantasies. Oh, do you know what? When I said, you know, when I read that, I'm like, hang on, why have I heard this before? You think you should see, you think what you think you should, what you fear, what you wish. Hang on, did I read this one? Or do I feel like there's some really similar things going on? Did I read this earlier? When you dream, when you relax into your fantasies, do you see what you want, what you think you should see, what you think is true? Oh no, I haven't read this. There's just, it felt very similar to something else I read earlier. What you fear, what you wish for but don't think will happen, or all of the above. Okay, so it's getting this like idea of daydreaming and maybe like catastrophizing a little bit, which again is an element of the 7 of Cups, and it's just they've chosen a different way. That, you know, they're depicting a different interpretation of the same card. We have the 8 of Cups. Walking away. I like the way that her like hair is attached to the tree, like makes me feel really uncomfortable. I'm like, she's gonna like whip her hair back if she walks any further, her head back rather. What I find interesting here is that she's like literally pouring liquid out of these cups, and it's maybe him that's walking away and her that's stuck, and he's like, this woman is just, no, I need to get out of here. And we've got them walking towards us a bit more rather than away, and they've got the red on us like here. So I'm feeling like this is meant to be this character. I don't know what she's playing at, but he obviously feels like he needs to get out of that situation. The 9 of Cups. This one really throws me because we've got this person that is like on, I want to say on a rooftop. Can you see that? It looks like a rooftop, like tiled rooftop, and they've got all these cups, but then water, it's underwater, and there's a swan and the moon, and I'm like, I'm confused. What is happening here? I'm glad I just have to read it because I'm so confused. It's so out there. Even when buried by our feelings, we may still raise our eyes and our hands towards our goal, our hope, our inspiration. There are times when only the way to go is up. Okay. Very different interpretation, I think, than the 9 of Cups here in the Smith Waite. I wonder if this is based on the Thoth. I haven't had a good sit down with the Thoth for a while, so you know that link might be escaping me, but maybe it would make more sense in the Thoth interpretation, you know, like the Sun and Moon Tarot, which as far as I understand, is sort of more Thoth based. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Maybe I should have pulled out the Thoth deck and had a look. maybe this is all just one big faux pas, but then there are definite like Smith Waite elements, right? Maybe it's because both decks are based on the Golden Dawn. Maybe it is just like a mixture. Maybe it's just like we're looking at the Golden Dawn and bringing their own interpretations. I don't know. Ten of Cups, they just look like they're smashed out after a bender, honestly, which is a very different vibe. But you know, sometimes you're like in your cups and you've had like an amazing night, and then you're like there like at stupid hours in the morning laying on the floor listening to like, I don't know, like fucking psychedelic rock, and you're like, yeah man, all in your feelings with your friends. Again, another interpretation. We have the Knave of Chalices. See here, this feels very like intellectual with the like quill and like the books, although the cups can also be sort of have an element of creativity about them as well as the wands. The Knight, this guy is sulking and he's spilling all of whatever it is. His hot chocolate, it looks like hot chocolate. This horse is like, looks like it's breaking the fourth wall, and it's like, can you believe I have to put up with this shit? Oh, this bitch. That's what it feels like. Feels very melancholy. But I do feel like this is an element of the Knight of Cups, though, that can be, so yeah. Can't camera. The Queen of Chalices. I have no idea what is going on in her mouth. It kind of weirds me out a bit. But, okay. The King of Chalices is a super weird looking dude. He's like made out of books. Again, there's like this weird like intellectual airy swordsy vibe here, which is throwing me off. And then we've got a cup, but then we've also got here, which makes me think it could be very quickly, if you're looking quickly, you're mistaken for the King of Wands, maybe. Very strange. And now the final suit, the suit of swords. We have the Ace of Swords. Okay, I can kind of see that, but I would also possibly think, you know, could possibly be the Page of Swords, the Knave of Swords. Two of Swords. Okay, so she's got one sword rather than two in her hands, but we've still got that nod to the Smith Waite. She's blindfolded as well. Three of Swords. We've got, you know, the heart. It's almost like cross her heart and hope to die saying. I can see where they're going with this one. Four of Swords. Again, taking it easy, having a break, having a snooze in the tree, I guess. Rest, recuperation. Five of Swords. Again, this feels very similar. We've got the three characters. She's got like, I don't know if she's got like extra heads or it's just showing the movement of her head as she looks away. And we've got these like crows that have like, or blackbirds that have gotten hold of her hair. There's like a organ, a piano organ type situation going on here. Not sure what that's about. Again, maybe it's just meant to be surreal. The bootleg flares, my god, that's so like 2000. But yeah, I can see where they're going with this one. Six of Swords, we have someone being carried rather than being rowed across. Again, we've got another bird on a hat. This person looks to be an angel, and they're like they're like chained up. Are they chained up? My eyes are so bad. It looks like she's chained to it and she's blindfolded. So this feels like a much more negative interpretation than this one, for sure. The Seven of Swords. I kind of get what they're going for with the like sneaking over the wall maybe, but there's like, again, there's more than one character, or it's her. We've got this fairy type character coming over the wall, and then what appears to be a second fairy type character that has like butterflies and dragonflies and weird little people worms coming out of their hair. And there's like, they're maybe creating the shadow for the swords on the wall. I don't know. I can kind of see that it looks like they're escaping over a wall to get away, but also it's like multiple characters when there's usually only one. The Eight of Swords, we have someone chained up again. See, here we can see that the swords around them are not densely placed and the bindings seem quite loose, so they can probably sort of release themselves. Here we do have the swords are not surrounding them, they actually also have a sword on their back, but it looks like a lot more difficult to get out of these chains. Again, feels like a much more negative interpretation of this particular card. The Nine of Swords, someone at night looking like they're having a rough time, so that makes sense. The Ten of Swords, I quite like this. We've got this ending, this finality, but rather than like the swords in the back, we've got these swords surrounding what appears to be like a tombstone type thing, or it's like dedicated to someone that's passed on, and then they're carrying a sword. They've got wings as well, and their wings match their hair. They've got these like reddish feathered wings. And you can see that the wings here look kind of almost bat-like. The shadow, that's interesting. Or dragon-like. I don't know what the little... Like this little thing here. Come on. What is that? It almost looks like it could be a camera. I don't know. It's so weird. And now the final cards, the court cards. We have the Knave of Swords. We've got this again. We've got these like moony-eyed girls going after these guys that are just not into them. Like she looks like she's like, "Hey, babe," and he's like, "Oh God, this bitch again." He's already like thinking about someone else. He's being fickle, but feels a bit more cupsy than swords. I don't know. See, there's more people. Like, I don't know, just put one person. We've got two people and a horse, and we've got such movement going on here, right? With the Smith Waite, this like galloping, the fastest moving right here, and here they're like stopped and they're off the horse. Like, what is going on? And we've got this guy, he's like, "Babe, I just need to like do this one thing," and she's like sitting around waiting for him. This is such a teen deck, because you know, like, I think back the things that I put up with through my teens and my 20s, like in relationships or friendships or with work, there was no way in hell I would put up with that shit now as like a 43-year-old woman. But it's almost like you have to like go through it to learn it. Like, even though people tell you and you're like, yeah, you like have to learn the hard way a lot of the time. There's a lot of these like moon-eyed girls sort of moping after these like emo boys. Queen of Swords, she looks quite fiery, and see what I mean? Are the elements swapped? She looks like she's being burnt at the stake. She's like tied to a pole. What? And finally, the King of Swords. I don't know, it's making me think of Howl's Moving Castle. But he's got like all these things, like a bottle, and I don't even know what that is, coming off him. He's got like a crown here because he's the king, a guitar, a sword through the stick, which is, and then a sword here. I don't know. And then we've got this other character over the way. It really does throw me that we've got more than one character in like pretty much all the court cards. And he's got his back to us, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to read it, and this will be the last one, obviously, because it's the last card. The last one, where is the swordies? The swords. The King of Swords. Logic is a very good thing. However, it may not always be as rigid and narrow as you'd think. A good mind is flexible and can bend with the winds of time and react well to whatever comes its way. Okay, so he's being battered by the wind. Battered. He's being battered by the winds, and he's able to like bend away from anything that might fucking hit him in his face, in his head. I don't know. I am confused, but I'm excited to like work with it. I think it's an interesting deck. Let me know, folks, that do have this and like this deck and work with it, how you like work with it. Do you use it dedicated as like an inner teen deck, how I'm sort of thinking to use it? And yeah, let me know. I'm interested to know how people are sort of working with this deck, what they think of it. So yeah, this was quite an indulgent video. I just wanted to do this anyway, and I thought, well, I'll just film it. and share it with you folks. So yeah, if you've made it all the way to the end of this rather long video, well done. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your valuable day to spend it with me. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope that wherever you are watching this, you are safe and well, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.